Guys, it's Daryl here. It's Thursday. It's coming up on 5 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. It would be remiss if I did not mention, if I didn't talk about Bernie Sanders a little bit today. Um, as of yesterday, he said that he is dropping out of the race and that Joe Biden will be the presumptive candidate for the Democratic Party for president in 2020. Um, it's unfortunate. He talked about why he dropped out, and the stuff he talked about made me think of what a good president he would have made. He dropped out, and he talked about how he couldn't keep talking about how he couldn't keep pushing forward in this race with the coronavirus, and he talked about Trump's mismanagement and mishandling and ineptness at dealing with this coronavirus, this pandemic. And it showed what a true good man he is. The fact that he's willing to drop out of the race because he cares about America and the pandemic and the whole situation, that he's willing to give up the race. It's disappointing. It's a little aggravating even. But it's aggravating because it shows what a good man, what a good president he would have made, that he actually cares. He's concerned about the American people. He's concerned about the pandemic so much, in fact, that he's willing to give up his run for president. You've got to ask yourself, is that the best thing? If it's a hard call. Would it be better for the American people if he pushed forward with the race and did become, through the pandemic, in an effort because of Trump's mishandling, the fact that Trump has to go, and we do have to have a new president, a better leader. It's a tough situation. More than likely, I would have voted for Bernie Sanders. Now, here's another point that I just noticed, and I was curious about this. This is probably my biggest question. His name is going to remain on the ballot. Now, what's this going to do? Apparently, it's going to give him leverage. He wants to gather electoral votes, or I think it's called, not electoral votes. Delegates. He wants to gather delegates. As you can see, I'm still. Sometimes I do have a hard time finding my way around this electoral college situation. So he wants to gather delegates to keep leverage, to keep his viability, I guess, in the race. I don't know if that means that at a certain point he will take all of his delegates and hand them over or encourage them to go with Biden. Or I wonder if by a fluke somehow he gathers an overwhelming amount of delegates and somehow becomes relevant in the race again. And a lot of his supporters must be wondering the same thing. Like I said, I apologize for some of my misunderstandings of how this all works. I'm not sure if there's a possibility, if he had overwhelming support, if he could still gather enough delegates and enough votes with his name still on the ballot to actually become a possible contender in the race. So these are some questions I have too. About his name remaining, even though he's dropping out of the race for the Democratic candidate. He's dropping out of the race, but he's keeping his name on the ballot. So I'm wondering, is this one thing that I'm worried about? Is this will keep Biden supporters from aligning behind Biden? Sooner or later, we're all going to have to get behind one person. That's the bottom line. So I'm kind of wondering about this myself. Because as I talked about in another video, dividing us is the best way to conquer us. And sometimes I wonder, because I still see all these posts on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, um, with the two sides attacking each other and almost looking at each other as enemies more than looking at each other's more of a problem than Trump. And I can only imagine that's exactly what the Trump camp wants, is to divide and conquer. And if other parts of the world, not just America, are also want that. Because as we've seen, and as a lot of us believe, that Russia, in their own best interest, is to have stability in the United States. And one thing that Donald Trump has provided this country is a huge amount of instability. Instability. I'm sorry if I said Russia desires instability in America, infighting, racial fighting that can only benefit them to move up the power chain, to move up in the economics, to become the world leader. And who provides that? Donald Trump. So again, I tend to wonder if there really are these Russian bots or these things that people talk about, these infiltrators that go on Facebook and start these fights. Because if there is, it's working. Let me tell you something. It's working. Because I see this infighting more than anything between Biden supporters and Bernie supporters, and that's really, it's got to end. It's got to get to a point. A constructive debate is one thing, but we're all going to have to get behind one person soon, and that's a fact, or we're all going to lose. Just some thoughts today. All right, you guys have a good Thursday. I got to get to my workout. I made 3 videos already. All right, have a good day, guys.